or a pet dying, or moving to a new place when you were a child or a teenager or an adult. It could be divorce. It could be loss of a job. It could be a friendship that dies. And we just don't know where that comes from, except that loss and grief happen anytime love has been present. So grief is really the imprint of where love has been. We see it as a doorway to deeper healing because your health has these 4 aspects: mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual. And when any of these 4 legs of this chair are left out of the equation of healing, there's instability, and disease results in that. So that instability is the precursor to dis-ease, and dis-ease left by itself becomes disease. And disease has 4 causes. We call it the 4 T's: trauma, toxicity, thoughts, and timing. This is all about what's impacting you. So loss, trauma. Toxicity could be anything from chemistry, chemicals that are in our food and water that aren't really food or water. It could also be something as simple as drinking too much water. So anything can become toxic. Thoughts, you can think any stinking thought you want. And that is the most dangerous. And then timing is your body doing something that is not in present time. Like when someone has post-traumatic stress, it becomes that their body has memorized something traumatic and it starts doing it when it's triggered. So it's not doing the thing that's happening in present time, it's doing the trauma from the past. Very important. Being complete in your healing lets all areas be healed, not just the ones that are most obvious. So most people are focusing on the physical, right? They're not focusing on the mental, emotional, or spiritual. So I want you to just let this information from this session just flow in so that you hear it on every level. In other words, beginner's mind. Let go of any judgment and just see how it fits for you. When you put your attention on your intention, there's no tension. So you have to discover what your intention is and then just put your attention on that. And this is why I talk about beginner's mind. It's so important that you allow it to come in because otherwise you're limiting yourself to what you already know. And that's all past information. So let's all take a deep breath and exhale. Let your weight in your body just send it down to the chair. Feel your feet on the floor. Let yourself relax and breathe. So this is how grief feels. And notice one of these or more of these are going to hit you. So just notice which ones. The sadness keeps sitting there in the back of your mind. You feel flat or apathetic or kind of gray. You're good for a little while, but it keeps coming back. You've done all the things and you still feel sad. You don't know when something will set you off. It's kind of mysterious. You're so used to grief that by now it just feels like it's part of you. You feel you're in betrayal if you're happy, even for a moment. And the feeling could come on like a tsunami of sadness, being overwhelmed, like knowing, oh my gosh, here it comes, I'm going to burst into tears. All the old griefs come charging back, so one on top of another, on top of another. It just is like thoughts or things that stick together. So a grief that you have that's recent, then you start going, yeah, and then, when my dog died when I was 8. So all these things start coming back at the same time. So here's some of the obstacles to relief. Self-care is lacking on some or on all levels. Like people say, well, I pray. I'm like, that's not enough. That's just one thing that you're doing. The 5 stages of grief, yeah, great. Nice to know. Doesn't really help all that much. Support groups only go so far. They keep reminding you about the grief, but they don't really help you heal the grief. So you're sharing your grief, everybody's sharing their grief, but it's not moving forward. and spiritual bypass. I'm just going to ignore this and go higher. When we ignore our negative feelings, they stay there. They don't resolve. And so they just keep happening over and over again. Oh, I'm just going to go high. You know, when they go low, we go high. Well, that happens inside of you. But if you don't recognize your negative feelings and we say acknowledge, own, and honor your feelings, whether they're negative or positive, then you're really selling yourself short from the healing that can happen. So letting go of guilt, shame, betrayal, regret, make space for feeling peace, joy, and gratitude, like cleaning out a closet. You create more room, and it fills up again, but now with what you really want, what you choose to have. So just like, have you ever cleaned a closet out and it's full again? Yeah, I mean, it happens, right? That's the nature of closets. Or your desk, exactly. And it fills up again, and you clean it out again, and it fills up again. So you're filling yourself up with the stuff that you choose. That's the whole point of intention. You're putting your attention on your intention. No tension, because you're filling up with joy, peace, and gratitude, right? Makes sense so far? So here's the story. This is one of the reasons why I do all this. I'm just giving you the most intense reason. So in 1994, Ed and I had a baby that was stillborn. His name was Edward Oliver. That's a drawing of him. He was so cute. But I kept thinking, what had I done to deserve this? You know, when something bad happens, we think, what did I do? Because I'm the center of the universe, right? What did I do? Had I made bad choices? How could I be a healer? I was in chiropractic college at the time. I was just finishing up. How could I be a healer when I couldn't even safely birth my own baby? And who deserved the blame, the shame, and the guilt? Because all of that was directed at me. I'm the one who was carrying him. So I'm the one the buck stops here. So when people tried to blame other people that were involved with the birth, I was like, yeah, but I chose those people. So me again. But all of that thinking led absolutely nowhere. It was just a dark road. And this is what happens. Ed's father, Father Ed, we called him, as a pastor, would say, we walk through the valley of the shadow of death. We don't pitch a tent and live there. We want to go out the other end, whistling a happy tune and skipping, because staying there is not where we're meant to be. So I had a choice to make. Does everything happen to the highest good, or am I just saying this because it sounds nice? So I made a decision to believe that, because the alternative led down a very dark path, dropping out of school, going into a psych ward. I mean, it was just that intense. So I said, okay, if everything happens to the highest good, show me the good. Show me what's really good about this, because this is not good. I'm going to label this right now as not good. But remember James 1:2, count it all joy. Okay, how am I supposed to do that? And I looked over to my left in the hospital bed, and there's my husband, helping me to breathe, keeping me alive, showing me love. And there's my sister-in-love, I call her my sister-in-love, Deborah, helping me push this baby out on my right. There's my in-laws right there praying for me and praying for us as a family. Friends came in and held my baby, who was gone and had a completely different experience with death than they ever thought possible. There was a ton of joy around this, just a huge amount of joy. And I had a baby, but that wasn't acknowledged so much, except a friend of mine came to our memorial service with a balloon that said, "It's a boy." And I was like, yes, I had a boy, I had a baby. This is great. He didn't live very long, but he got an awful lot accomplished in the short 9 months that he was with us. I mean, amazing. Ed and I are forged by fire. Have you ever thought, like, I wonder if this person that I'm married to is really the person they say they are? And you get into a situation like that and you find out they are who they say they are. So that's a huge gift. So I want to talk about these 5 ways. So way 1 and 2. I'm going to get into some anatomy and physiology, but don't worry, I've got lots of pictures, and it won't get confusing, I promise. The human mind wants easy explanations. I'm going to give you some. Sometimes they don't exist. So let's talk about how things really work. First of all, your feelings create your physiology. Identifying your feelings is key to moving from negativity to positivity. Absolutely the most important thing you can do is identify your feelings. That's way number 1. We're going to get to this. Okay, so here's all the stuff. This is your nervous system. This side of your nervous system, this is a cartoon of a nerve, right? So part of your nervous system is controlling the muscles. That's controlling your motor nerves. So the front part of your brain, your frontal brain, your thinking brain is going, if I want to point to this, I have to move all the muscles in my hand and arm to point to this. So I'm controlling this with my thoughts. When there's interference here, you get weakness, tightness, spasm, and fatigue. Now, about 1/9 of your nervous system transmits pain. Not very much. Not very much a part of your nervous system, but it's transmitting pain. And then this side of your nervous system is controlling everything else. Your organs, your glands, everything. Blood vessels. When there's interference here, you get sinus and allergies, stomach problems, low energy, breathing problems. All of that happens because there's interference here. What's causing this? It's not my thinking mind, it's my feelings. Your feelings are like a suit of physiology that your body puts on. So when that feeling happens, you feel different from bliss than you do from happiness, right? They're a little bit different. They're both love, but bliss and happiness are a little bit different. Bliss and adoring, a little bit different. So there's lots of good feelings, lots of positive feelings, and there's also negative feelings. Regret, worry, all based on fear. Here's what happens when your body does this. There's 2 parts to this autonomic or automatic nervous system. One part is rest, digest, and heal, this part. And this part is fight or flight or freeze. When you're in fight or flight, there's no digestion happening. There's no immune function. It shuts off. You can't think straight. You can't be creative. You don't have good communication. The kids used to make fun of me when I would get angry because I couldn't talk well when I was angry, and I'm a pretty good talker. And they'd be like, like that's, yeah, because I'm angry. So I'm in fight or flight response. I can't communicate well. I can't be clear thinking. I can't have great ideas because I'm busy being in fight or flight. Notice what's here that's not over here. That gland right there, your adrenal gland. So you have an adrenal gland right here, but there's no brake over here. That's like the accelerator, no brake. So it takes hours and hours to come out of fight or flight if you don't do anything about it. And this is why EMT workers have a 10-year shorter life expectancy. Because when you're in fight or flight, you're not resting, digesting, and healing. And what if you're in fight or flight when you're asleep? It's become a subconscious pattern. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. So this is why we want to identify feelings. Let's say, well, we're going to talk about this. We call it a SEMO, a subconscious emotional memory that's overriding present time. So subconscious, you're not conscious of it. It's an emotion, so it's a pseudophysiology that your body's wearing, and it's a memory, because it's stored, everything is stored, and it's overriding what's happening right now. So let's say you're a little kid, and you go down to the 5 and 10, and you're pawing through all the toys, and you just put one in your pocket. Little guilt there, because you already know what's right and wrong, and it's not right to put stuff in your pocket and not pay for it. So you go throughout your day or the summer, and you're feeling a little anxiety because you figure somebody's going to find out what I did. And then maybe that continues, and you start to see people are being treated better than you. And so there's jealousy there. These are all happening at the same time. They continue. And then we get up to here. Now the jealousy is turned into being ridiculed. And then when you get to a certain point, that's where the symptoms are going to show up. So you have all these negative feelings built up over this one little thing that happened, and it continues, and then dis-ease happens. This is so simple. It could be as much as walking into your new house and your parent says, oh, check out your room, it's on the left. You go into the room, you're drawing on the wall, you have all these beautiful crayons there. And as you're drawing on the wall, I don't want to trip, as you're drawing on the wall, your parent comes in and says, what are you doing? You're ruining the wall. And now that creativity and that good feeling about your room has been completely destroyed. We call it, there's a word for it, it's called bushwhacked. So you're having this positive feeling, it gets bushwhacked. So now every time you want to feel creative, it has to go through this memory, this intense memory with intense emotion, or it happens chronically. Think about a child being abused in their home. Chronically, then it sets up all of this stuff for all of this negativity and dis-ease to happen, and let go and let it run becomes dis-ease. Because when you're in fight or flight, remember, no stomach, no digestion, it shuts off. You don't need your digestion to run away from something that's chasing you. You don't need your immune system to run away from something that's chasing you. You need all the blood in your body to go to your legs and your arms so you can run. That's why you're not supposed to go swimming until 30 minutes after you eat, because all the blood in your body is digesting the food that you just ate. It's not going to be shunted out to the periphery where it needs to be for fight or flight. Does that make sense so far? It's pretty simple. It's just anatomy and physiology 101. That's really all you need to know. Your body's wearing these suits of physiology. They get memorized if it's intense emotion or chronically, and it keeps running unless you do something about it. We're going to talk about that too, what you can do. So identifying your feelings. What was it you were saying, or we were downstairs and you said, you or the woman we were talking to said something about feeling sad and not knowing why? But it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to have tears well up. Right? It means you're, yeah, it was you. We were talking about your brother dying. And tears well up, and it's okay. We're human beings. We're meant to live this way. We have feelings for a reason. They're our thermometer or our meter for where we are and where we want to go. So if we're having a negative thought or a sad thought, I say negative because it's not good or bad, it's just negative. We want to move to positive. So identifying your feelings, then you know where you're at. Oh, I'm feeling sad. Do I want to continue to feel sad? Yeah, I'll feel sad for a little while. I'll get it all out, and then I'll feel better. The worst thing you could do is say to somebody, oh, don't feel bad. Okay, so see this lemon? Close your eyes and put your feet on the floor and take a deep breath and think about this juicy lemon. This beautiful, juicy lemon sitting right in front of you. This beautiful wedge of lemon, and you could smell it. It smells so good. And then you pick the juicy lemon up, and you put it in your mouth, and you bite down. Raise your hand if you have more saliva in your mouth right now. Okay, so this is your body working off of a memory. There's no lemon here. Your body's memorized what to do when a lemon hits your mouth. So you can imagine what can happen. You just thought of a lemon. And if you allow yourself to think of the things that make you feel good, you're in charge of your physiology. Let's talk about energy fields. This is something that most people don't talk about, but Energy Medicine, the Scientific Basis by James Oshman is basically a review of the literature about energy fields in the body. We have all of these energy fields around us all the time. So when we're talking about healing, and we talk about physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, this is kind of getting to all of those, because we are energetic beings. We're having a human experience. I said to somebody the other day, well, here's my humanness showing up. I sent out a newsletter with the wrong date in it. And one of my clients sent back, "That's the wrong date." I'm like, "Oh, okay, so this is what we do. You just be human. You're going to make mistakes. We're called mistake makers for a reason." You could put in sinners right there. We're called mistake makers because sin means missing the mark. It's an archery term for missing the mark. That's what we do. We're excellent at it. We're all perfectly human because we miss the mark. We kind of want to go that way, but it goes all the way over there. So this is a way to understand, like, we have this energy around us. Can you see it? No, you can't. Some people can. Some people can see auras, but you can sense it, when you're not in your right mind. I have a friend who just fell. She fainted and fell over, and another friend of ours was working on her, who's a sound healer. And I said, "Was she out of her body?" She said, "Yeah, she was next to herself." Like, you hit your head, look at all the energy, and you knock yourself out of place. It can happen, but we put her back in. Here's another energy field, the chakras. This is something I work with a lot. They hold information about our soul. They create balance. They're used as a tool for healing, and they connect us with source energy, our creator. All of these things work together for our good. So when I'm doing an intuitive energy scan, this is the way that I start working with people energetically. I'm reading each chakra and finding out, where's the blockage? What's the pain about here? So the two questions I always ask: what's your greatest pain? What's your greatest joy? My pain is I can't get over the loss of my father who died 20 years ago. That's pain. I don't have any joy. I hear that a lot. I don't know where I find joy. Is that sad? People don't know where their joy is. So that's why we want to uncover all of these things so that they can get to their joy again. Because we're not made to not be joyful. We're made to be happy. That's my humble opinion. Okay, so this is, way number 2 is to do 4-count breathing. This helps balance the nervous system. If you go into fight or flight or freeze, which I did last weekend when we were on a boat and it started to go under the water, I was like, So we're going to do 4-count breathing. So we're going to inhale for 4, hold it for 4, exhale for 4, and hold it out for 4. So everybody, exhale all your breath out. And now breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe normally. Do you feel the difference in the room? The energy in the room's changed. Do you feel it in your body? Most people will say they feel calmer after this. And we just did it for 32 seconds. So this is a great way for you to meditate, to get yourself out of fight or flight if something happens and you're scared. If you're thinking along those lines and you keep getting yourself caught up in these negative thoughts, it's a great way to stop that thinking and put your attention on your breath. Because what does that do? Well, first of all, you can live without food for many days. You can live without water for a long time. But 4 minutes without breathing, and you're gone. Also, when I do prayer, when I'm working with people, I always say, take a deep breath in, inspiration, invite spirit in. It's called inspiration. Bring spirit in. Exhale, gratitude. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad I can breathe. You know when you can't breathe, how hard it is? And then when you absolutely finally get all the pathways cleared, you're like, oh, thank God. Breathing. It connects you to life. It connects you to source. Every time you intentionally breathe, you're connecting yourself to source energy, God energy. I believe that. Everybody here is this jewel, this multifaceted jewel. I'm looking at 7 chakras, like you could think of it as I'm looking at 7 of those things when I'm looking at that intuitive energy scan and I'm scanning the person's energy and I'm telling them stories about themselves that maybe they've never heard before or they've never heard it put into words before, but they've had the feeling. This is a really wonderful way to help people. Okay, here's numbers 3 and 4 of the 5 ways. Yeah, asking yourself what-if questions does not help, and it leads to more insecurity and less trusting yourself, more second-guessing, and feeling overwhelmed is indicating deeper healing is needed. So, like we were saying, cleaning out a closet can bring freedom in ways unexpected, unsuspected too. Here's the thing, you can actually impact your emotional health by actually cleaning out a closet in your house. I mean, you actually can. It's a physical thing that clears your emotional and mental space because now that stuff is taken care of, it's gone. Don't come to my garage, though, because that's up to Ed. He's going to do that. I'm making it his job because I don't want to do it. So it really, if you stay in this what if I had just eaten better? What if I had gotten other people involved in my birth experience? What if? You're never going to get the answer. So it's very dangerous to go down that road. Just don't. If you start feeling yourself doing this, do some 4-count breathing, call me up. I'm like, I can't get out of this. Because there's all kinds of ways that we can do this. So here's a way to get out of that. Narrate present time activity. Because present time is when healing happens. It doesn't happen in the past or the future. It happens right now. So I had a very terrible experience with a person who shall be unnamed. And I was vacuuming, and I was doing that inner monologue. This is what I'm going to tell her next time I talk to her. And then I went, what am I doing? I'm wasting all this energy. So I started appreciating my vacuum cleaner. Like, isn't this awesome? It sucks the dirt right off the floor. And I just have to plug it in and go like this. And it's doing the job for me. And I don't have to live with dirt all over the place because I don't even have to bend down and pick it up. Oh, I love the vacuum cleaner. Who invented the vacuum cleaner? That's awesome. So I get on this rampage of appreciation. If you've ever listened to Abraham Hicks, they talk about the rampage of appreciation. This is thoughts like other thoughts stick together. So I'm thinking, oh, you know what else I'm grateful for? I'm grateful that I don't have to carry water from 2 miles away. We were remodeling our house, and we were living in the house while remodeling. Have you ever seen this cartoon? It says 3 doors. It says the way to hell, and then 1 door is the way to heaven, and the 3rd door is remodeling your house while you live in it. It's like a bad idea. So every day after doing the dishes, I had to after having food, we'd take the dishes up to the bathroom to wash them in the tub. And every time I did that, I thought, I'm not walking on the African savannah to find water 3 miles from my home in a bucket that I'm carrying back. I'm just going upstairs. This is nothing. This is nothing. Gratitude, huge. So putting those gratitude things together for yourself. Next to pets. So negative emotional trigger is I have to carry the dishes up to the bathroom. Positive turns into a positive emotional trigger. Boy, I can be grateful that I have water inside my house. So anytime that you have a negative emotional trigger, it's an indicator, just like the fuel gauge, that you're going in the direction you don't want to go. You're going to the negative. The negative isn't going to help. This isn't spiritual bypass. You're acknowledging that you're feeling negative, and you're choosing to think of something different. Identifying saboteurs keeps you from change. The saboteurs are parts of your psyche that are enlisted by the judge that everybody has, telling them they're not good enough, they're not worthy. We all have it. There isn't anybody that doesn't have that. Everybody has it. That's why they call it imposter syndrome. It's the judge. It doesn't want you to change, because change is what? Dangerous. Change is dangerous. It's not really. We just think it is. The judge thinks it is, and enlists all these saboteurs. The avoider. Yeah, I'll think about that tomorrow. The people pleaser, the pleaser. Oh, I'll make sure that everything's okay all the time for everybody else, right? The hyperachiever. Oh yeah, I got an MBA, but any idiot can do that. They don't acknowledge their achievement, ever. Hypervigilant. What's wrong? What's wrong? Where are the windows? Who's got the door open? How's this working? I got to keep track. All of these parts of ourselves that have strengths too, but can start running our lives. And we do assessment for that. There's actually an assessment that we use to find out what your top saboteurs are. And gratitude, thoughts that stick together. So choose gratitude. Like if you see yourself continually doing that, eventually what will happen is you'll just naturally start doing that. But sometimes you're going to have to like go, no, that's not what I want to do right now. I don't want to go down that road. I want to go down this road. And so you have to be aware. That's why identifying your feeling is so important. So present time activity. Present time is when healing happens. Narrating what you're actually doing takes your mind from the past and the future and puts it in the present. So regret is in the past. Worry is in the future. We want to be in present time. So when people tell me they worry about their kids, I'm like, stop doing that. You're not helping them by worrying about them, and you're certainly not helping yourself. So what I do when I think about my son who lives in Atlanta, I can't get to him. I mean, it'd take me a day, even if I fly, to get to him if something happens to him. I just see him with golden white light around him, being totally protected. Sometimes I imagine Jesus with his arm around his shoulder saying, you're doing such a great job. You're doing so well. You're such a wonderful person. I just imagine that for him. And that is so much better than, oh, what's going to happen? I don't have to do that. I don't want to lay that on him. So worry, that's not helpful. It's not helpful. My mom would say, oh, I'll worry about that later. I'm like, you're going to make a date to worry about it? Maybe don't. Maybe just don't. Negative emotional triggers to positive emotional triggers. Identifying the saboteurs and gratitude. These are all things that you can do right now in your life. These techniques, though, will only be a Band-Aid unless and until you dig deeper into the energy of what's happening with you. So a lot of times, this is why I say that it's a doorway to deeper healing. So somebody comes to me and they say, I'm really sad and I can't get over the death of my father that happened 20 years ago. I'm like, well, how was your relationship with your father? Oh, it was great. I'm like, okay, so there's something else going on here. Where was your mother in this? Oh, my real mother? And then we have the whole story starts to unfold of what really happened. This was the person who was on her side all the time, no matter what. That person's gone. What does she have left? This is the thing. It's that situation. So it's always something a little bit deeper. People that can't move forward past that incident that happened. And this client that I'm talking about is starting to do a lot better with that too. And way number 5, letting go of fear. Negative feelings are normal, and they're fear-based. You get the choice. Do you want to be in fear, or do you want to be in love? Walking in fear or walking in love? What are you going to do? You have the choice every day, every thought you decide to think. And most people think 99% of the same thoughts they've had yesterday. So it's important to notice what your thinking is. So when you first start doing this work, this deeper work, it can feel like you're really slogging through a lot of stuff that's just been like your normal way of being. And then you start realizing like, wow, that's not really that healthy, is it? And it can be a little overwhelming. And then you can feel like, how am I ever going to get out of this? But doing some of these simple things that I talked about, like breathing and narrating what you're doing and identifying your feelings, really helps you to move through it very quickly. Going deeper into the energy is crucial for healing, and that's where we start with the intuitive energy scan. The intuitive energy scan is, let's see if I have a slide on that. So is it okay if I share how we go deeper? I love this picture. It's the inside of a hydrangea flower. It looks like a forest, doesn't it? But when we go deeper, things look different. I love that. So this is the energy scan. This is the entire 7 chakras to detect exactly where your grief is trapped and what new power potential you have for more joy in your life, letting go of that. In the session, I connect with the energy field. We do it over Zoom so I can record everything. I find out where the chakras are compromised, what the story is that that energy is holding. It might be something from a past life, and it doesn't matter if you believe in past lives or not. That's just how it's coming through. Could be a parallel life. I mean, it is the universe of infinite possibility, so we're not going to count anything out. We can see into core wounds. We can see into gifts and purpose as well. And I report to you what I've seen, and then we discuss what the next best steps would be for you. Maybe it's to work with me. Maybe it's to do something else before that. Maybe it's to work with somebody else, and that's okay. This is one of the people that I've worked with. Sorry, let me go back. Yeah, she said, I love working with Dr. Tanya because she's able to see things that I neatly tucked into blind spot or two for years. These things have not been serving me or more greater good. She's been able to help me gently surface what I need to, further examine and release what's appropriate. I truly appreciated her empathetic style and helpful healing spirit. Thank you, Patty. Very sweet. There's a few more of these. Here's Jen. She took this webinar, suffered a lot of grief in the past, but it really helped her help a friend who lost her mom. And this is Kim. Wow, I'm so grateful that I made time to participate. I've been working with Tanya for almost 2 years, and my healing journey has been tremendous. But last week when this class started, I really didn't think I needed it. I found myself suddenly in a day of heavy grief, and my loss is a bit atypical for people to understand. It's been multiple times in my life for decades, and I grew accustomed to just feeling beat up by life. But really, it was the stories of my life. I've been using many of these healing choices and actions to help heal my body of dis-ease, and she's come a long way from where she was. And Pamela, my energy scan with Dr. Tanya was amazing and eye-opening. I loved how she addressed each chakra, explained what a blocked chakra would look like and the root causes. In addition, she did spot clearing. I did some clearing with this person. Thank you so much. My energy felt lighter after our session. I so appreciate having this session with you. And Sonia. This is interesting. Sonia had no idea what energy healing was at all. And she was open-minded, and she really needed some help. And she worked through issues and learned tools and released a lot of the stuff that she'd been dealing with. And now she knows how to handle things. It makes a huge difference in your life when you take ownership over your feelings and start to really work with the feelings and move yourself to a place where you want to be. So I'd like to do something with you now, if you're willing. It's a little meditation. And what I'd like to do is have you kind of tell me what feelings are coming up for you when you think about a loss in your life. So go ahead and close your eyes and think of a time when you had a loss, something that happened in your life. And I want you to just give me some of the feelings that you had. Just shout them out, that's fine, during this time. So notice where you are in this memory. Notice who's there. Are you indoors or outdoors? What colors are around you? What sounds are there? Is there a smell that comes with this memory? And just notice the feelings that come up when you think about this. So what feelings are popping up for you? Got a feeling? Grief? Mm-hmm. Sure. Anybody else have a feeling? Disappointment. Okay. Frustration. Fear. Okay. This is good. We can work with this. So I want you to all take a notice of how much this feels like it's affecting you right now. On a scale of 0 to 10, 10's the worst you can feel. 0 is I don't feel anything. Where are you on that scale? Just notice where you are. Okay? Now I want you to do this with me. So you're going to have to open your eyes and do what I do and say what I say. You could say it to yourself, okay? Tap on your eyebrows right here and say to yourself, all of this fear. Go to the side of your eyes. All of this frustration. Tap, 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 tap. Right on the side of your eye, right next to your eye. Tap under your eye. All of this grief. Under the nose. All of this disappointment. Under the lips. I can't relax about this. Under the collarbone. I have to be on guard. Under the arms, way up high. Maybe I don't know who I'd be if I didn't feel this way. Top of the head. But I acknowledge my feelings. Eyebrows. I own my feelings. Side of the eye. I honor my feelings. Okay, take a deep breath. Think back to that time of loss. What does it feel like now? Did it go down? Stay the same? Raise your hand if it went down. It went down? Good. Good. Did it go down for you? Good. This is a technique called emotional freedom technique. I use this all the time with people. It's so easy for me to do over Zoom when I'm doing a video. So I do a lot of this over Zoom with people. And it helps bring that grief down to a bearable level, because what are you doing? You're actually tapping on acupuncture points and you're changing the energy in your body. So you don't need to have a different gland that's the opposite of the adrenal gland. You just need to do the tapping. And that brings you back to neutral. You could tap on that same bunch of words that we just did over and over again, and every time you do it, you'll feel better and better and better. And then you could do this. There I am. I feel so good. I miss that person and what happened, but the love remains. And I remember all the good times. And I'm so grateful for those. And I'm in gratitude that I had this relationship. And I acknowledge my feelings. I own my feelings. I honor my feelings. Feels good? So that's part of what we do in Quantum Healing International. We're working with people all over the world online. I do see people in the office for chiropractic care, and we do some of this work too with them. We just don't go quite as deep with people coming in the office because we don't have the time. But when you start to look at yourself as this holistic being, as opposed to just a collection of parts, it makes a lot more sense. Because we are spiritual beings. We're having a human experience. So why not acknowledge that part of ourselves, uplift it, support it, do things for it that actually work on our physical self too. So just like coming to church and being in worship with like-minded people is so good for us, that social interaction is really, really good for us, so is putting our attention on our feelings. Can you imagine what would happen in the world if every child learned that it was okay to have their feelings and wasn't told, don't feel bad? Your mom's in heaven. Don't feel bad. Don't feel. Just change it to don't feel. That's what they're hearing over and over again. Oh, don't feel bad. It's just knocked off like that. Oh, don't feel bad. We need to make sure that children are entitled to their feelings, that it's okay for them to have feelings, and that child that's within you needs to know that too. So we do a lot of meditations that work on that inner child and getting them to know that we're there for them. That's never going to happen again. I'm here, I love you, and I'm never going to let that happen to you again. It's so important. So, do you have any questions? No? Yes?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I really feel is an important discovery
Oh, yeah.
And that's led me nowhere.
Oh, yeah. That'll lead you right down to nowhere. Exactly. Yeah.
So thank you for that.
You're very welcome. Yeah, it's a good meter for what's going on. And anytime someone comes into me with a physical problem that's going on, we're always going to look at what's the emotional, mental, and spiritual aspect of this problem. It's not just, people always say, well, why did that happen? I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go through this again with you. Trauma, toxicity, thoughts, timing. Which one of those? It's not one thing. It's never one thing. Even if you're in an accident, there's energy that's there that's creating that for that to happen in your life. You know, like, I don't blame anybody for the death of my child. Things happen. What do I do with what happens? Always be learning. Everything is happening for us, not to us. What do we do with what's happening? That's why it's happening for us, so that we can learn. So I said, God, okay, I got it. You're hitting me over the head with the 2x4 of harsh reality. What can I do with this? How can I learn from this? How can I help more people with this? So this is why I do it. And it's really fun, because you know what happens when people heal? You know. It's like a breeze in the room, but no air's moving, but you could feel it. And I have people on the table, and they're like, what just happened? I'm like, that was healing. Did you feel it? And they're like, yes. Things just shifted. I'm like, and all we did was, oh, tap here, tap there, hold these points, think this thought. And they're like, how did it, what? I'm like, well, I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you. You have to take all the classes, all the seminars, all the life experience, and let me just throw it at you. That would just kill people. So we don't want to do that. But make it easy.
And I wanted to say, as a continuation of this wonderful program, so on the last Wednesday of October, we're going to have a presentation on the Healing Touch program that is based here at New Song. And so, you know, some different sorts of things, but definitely in that same, a lot of resonances with what you said. So last Wednesday of the month, our speakers will be Lisa Borman, who co-directs the Healing Touch program with me, and also Susan Leckendorf, who's a professor in the Department of Psychology, or what do they call it, brain science now? Or
Neurology, neuroscience, neuropsychology, yeah.
And she's done a lot of research on energy work and cancer.
Oh, I can't wait to hear about that.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
So,
Yeah. So if you have questions or you want to speak to me about what I do and you just want to have a consultation with me or anything like that, that's all free. You could do that. It's all right. I have cards here if you're interested. And you could give those to people. Thank you. And yeah.
any other questions?
Yeah. Sure. My life is an open book. You could ask me anything. Mm-hmm.
It's pretty advanced.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'm just wondering how those kinds of chronic diseases, or even, you know, like acute terminal diseases, how do they fit into your whole system?
Well, you know, when I do healing with somebody, I'm not healing their specific problem.
Yeah.
I'm looking for where the interference is. So remember, thoughts, timing, toxicity, and trauma. So people that have Parkinson's, usually there's been something that started that, but it's long before we get to see what the disease is. So it could be something as like child abuse or sexual trauma or something that happens in it. When that happens, it's like the wires get crossed and it might take years for it to show up. I'm just using those two things as an example, that not that that's always the way it is. Louise Hay wrote a great book years ago called Heal Your Body, and it has the disease, the probable thought problem, and an affirmation to repeat about that. Affirmations are great. I have a little class, a mini class called The Powerful Personal Affirmation to teach you how to write an affirmation. Because an affirmation can really change things for people. And what happens when you write an affirmation for yourself is you're saying, this is right, this is me, this is the way it is. But you might have negative feelings when you're saying an affirmation, and if you don't address the negative feelings, the affirmation doesn't do any good. Because so you could say the affirmation like, oh, the universe loves me and supports me, but I don't really believe that. One of my teachers, Dr. M.T. Morter Jr., who developed a bioenergetic synchronization technique, which is a technique that works on subconscious emotional memory override, said that there's 3 reasons why people have disease. They're doing something they shouldn't, they're not doing something they should, or that's why they're here. They're here to learn from this. So if you start looking at it as if everything is happening for me, not to me, it changes your orientation to the dis-ease as well. So now it becomes like, okay, so this is happening. What can I do with this? How can I learn from this? How can I help other people with this? And so it becomes something more than just, I have this terrible thing that happened. I mean, that takes a while to get through, and you might have that for a moment every day for years, but you know how to get out of it. Parkinson's is really interesting because there's a part of the brain called the substantia nigra that gets destroyed, and they don't really know how that happens. And we had a really good friend, and you probably know Mary Six Jackson. Her dad used to come to church here. In fact, we came here for the first time for his memorial service. And Mary had Parkinson's, and before she had Parkinson's, she was having a heart problem. And I said, please come to me, I want to help you. She wouldn't come. This is the hardest part of doing healing, when you know you can help somebody and they won't let you. So I could just send her energy, and that was all I could do for her. But we don't know what could have happened. We could have dealt with that long before she got the Parkinson's diagnosis. Usually there's some precursor thing that happens and it doesn't come out of the blue. And if people start to look, anybody that's had cancer has had some tragic situation in their life that hasn't been resolved. Happens all the time. Everybody, without exception. I'll say that. You can hold me to it, because we can find what it is. So, does that help?
Yeah, just a follow-up question. I guess when these bad habits of self-blame, self-criticism, self-judgment are so deeply ingrained.
Oh, yeah.
When you're tying so much to our thoughts, how do I keep from blaming myself and making myself sick? How do you counsel people who...
Well, we do real specific things, like 4-count breathing every day when you wake up, when you need a break during the day, when you've got to get back to connecting with Source, and that's the easiest way, breathing in and out, easy. Very simple, simple things, tapping. You could just tap right here and say, I'm safe, and that's huge, I'm safe, because most people have had some time in their life when they didn't feel safe, especially as kids. We believe everything that goes in when we're children. My parents got divorced because I wasn't good enough, right? That's what most kids think.
It'd be so great if kids learned this in elementary school.
Absolutely. It'd be great if they learned it at home before they went to school. There's a book that I'm reading right now about how children handle grief. And this little boy who was lovely at school, had a great time at school, came home and said, I don't want to go to school. And the mom found out that it was because the teacher said, there were 2 teachers, one of them was sick and wasn't there, and she told the class that the reason why the teacher wasn't there is because they were so bad last week that she got sick from it. Can you imagine? Making those children responsible for somebody else's health? I mean, come on. That's crazy. So now the little boy's like, man, I don't want to go to school. I had a message, I did a post. I had a client that came in, a patient. A patient is someone that comes in for chiropractic care. A client is somebody that I work with online. So this patient came in, we're working on her. I said, well, this feeling got bushwhacked when you were 6. I'm asking her body yes and no questions through muscle testing. She goes, what was that? I said, I don't know. It's not important that you know what it was, what happened. It may come to you later, but just know we're going to clear that up right now. Later, she's sitting with a friend of hers, and she goes, oh, I know what it was. What happened when I was 6? And I said, what was it? She said, I hated my first grade teacher, and every morning I'd be in the bathroom throwing up because I hated being there. And that's what bushwhacked her. And it was something like truth. There's something that she, as soon as I said it, it was like, whoa. And she was like, oh my gosh, that's what it was. I posted that, and I had 3, 4, 5 stories of people who'd had teachers that were mean to them. And they're in their 60s and 70s telling me this. This stuff stays with people. It didn't just happen then. It happens every time they think about the teacher, every time they're around a teacher, anytime somebody mentions when they were 6 and they hated a teacher, now the stories come up. Yeah, it's crazy. My sister put something on there. I had never heard this story before. She told. I was like, oh my gosh, everybody's been traumatized by their first grade teachers here. It's like, we got to be careful. It's amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much for your kind attention today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Tanya.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we went, last weekend we went up to Wisconsin. You better turn this off because I don't want to get anybody in trouble.